The champion bishop of the Steel City Kennel. I have worked in the field of education for a long time, both teaching and learning as a student. I have always been taught that you must endure the difficult and rough times, as they will make the easier and smoother times much sweeter. In my current journey, there have been so many roadblocks and obstacles in the way of success. Most people in my situation would have given up. Well, giving up could never be an option when the game you are in is about perseverance. I am writing this story directly from my imagination, to illustrate an example of a great friend and resilience. Although it may seem like a true story, it is all a product of my imagination. Just as books like Harry Potter are fiction. This is the story of one of the best companions and friends a person could have. This is the story of a true soldier, a warrior, and my best friend. This is the story of Champion Bishop. Bishop was born on the east coast of Kazakhstan as a result of an accidental crossbreeding. The breeder of the litter hated this crossbreeding and didn't want the puppies. Bishop's father was a two-time fight winner named Dracula. The owner disliked Dracula simply because he descended from the Red Boy lineage, which Mr. G used in his prime. To Dracula's owner, he was simply an extremely brave dog to the death, but one that offered nothing else special. Bishop's mother was a good breeding female named Kay. She was known for having produced some good dogs from different crossbreeds. Bishop was a very large puppy and practically dominated the puppy pen from an early age. The breeder sold everything from that crossbreeding and was looking to sell Bishop as well, but he was behaving so well that the breeder kept him for a while. It was only when he put another puppy from another litter in the pen with Bishop that he actually decided to sell him. The puppy had been bred by another kennel and practically intimidated Bishop in the pen. At that moment, he called a guy who was asking about Bishop to come pick him up. Bishop was 4 months old at the time. Bishop grew into a very large and strong dog, so his new owner decided to test him with an adult at 9 months, but Bishop wasn't interested and ran away. The owner put him back on the leash and waited a little longer. A few months later, at 12 months, Bishop showed signs of wanting action, so his owner tested him again against a two-time Southern fight winner. This time, Bishop gave the dog everything he could handle for 45 minutes. When brought into the corner, Bishop was uncontrollable and would return to the fight as if he had been shot out of a cannon, breaking the other dog's spirit. The next time he looked at Bishop was against a 4-time fight winner, whose kennel was very envious of the owner and hated to see the progress of this young puppy. They brought this champion in to end Bishop's career before it even began. However, the result was even more impressive than the last time. Bishop destroyed the dog in just 8 minutes and made this 4-time fight winner cry and urinate in fear. Wow! Bishop started to get bigger and feel like he owned the place. He got excited and even bit his owner at one point, leaving the owner with a slight feeling of insecurity about him. It didn't help that the owner was having some health problems, so he decided to sell Bishop. A young man from Russia inquired about a certain female of the buck lineage that the owner had for sale. He went to Moldova to buy her, and the owner, D.E., convinced him to take Bishop as well. Well, it didn't take much persuasion, because he was a beautiful sight to behold. Now 17 months old, Bishop belonged to the Steel City Kennel in Russia, which took him north and began preparing him for his career. A few years before Steel City Kennel bought Bishop, Steel City had a showdown between two great dogs, Champion Slick, from Gameline Kennel, against Champion Homie, from Cutthroat Kennel. It was an epic battle that lasted 1 hour and 32 minutes, with Champion Slick holding on. Slick was trained by Gameline, but due to an unforeseen incident on the way to the event, they couldn't attend and Champion Slick was handled by Steel City. Homie won that time and went on to have a great career. That never sat well with Steel City Kennel, because of how it all happened, and he never forgot. Steel City definitely wanted revenge. He got his revenge a few years later with Bishop. Lazy Boy, winner of 2 fights, versus Bishop. Cutthroat Kennel was known for being a great physical trainer and always brought in very good dogs. They were based high in the mountains of China and had come to the Moscow area the previous time, so it was only right that we went to their backyard this time. It was midsummer and the weather was unbelievably hot that particular weekend. We traveled to China in a small vehicle without air conditioning and arrived there only to encounter a natural disaster that weekend across the entire Guangzhou province. All the power was off unless you had a generator. We drove around the area for 3 to 4 hours in over 32-degree heat without air conditioning and Bishop was panting like crazy. We tried to rent a hotel, but 20 minutes after we were in the room, all the power and generators stopped there too. Everything that could happen, happened. My teen was telling me to turn around and go home, but I was determined to put my dog to the test. Cutthroat Kennel assured me that they had the conditions under control on site and were ready. They had air conditioning the whole time and their dog was comfortable and rested. They were just waiting for showtime to finally make a champion out of me once again. Well, we started the weigh-in and Cutthroat was exactly at 24 kilograms. I knew we would be underweight, but not as much as we were. Due to the extreme conditions and stress on Bishop, he came in weighing 23 kilograms. I knew we were facing a tough fight, but I had complete faith in the training he had gone through. We started washing the dogs and, for some reason, this being Bishop's first real fight, he knew it was time because it looked like he had gained 5 kilos and started jumping like a wild horse. Showtime, the dogs are released and meet in the middle of the field. Bishop is pressing, but Lazy Boy is experienced, climbed onto Bishop's head and dominated him for a while. Lazy Boy started showing off moves that left the audience amazed. The air was thinner in the mountains and it took Bishop a while to acclimatize to his breathing. In addition to being extremely talented, Lazy Boy had a very strong bite, descended from Clemens Durango red bloodline. This didn't seem to discourage Bishop either, as he displayed extreme bravery, knowing that if he allowed Lazy Boy to continue advancing in the fight, he would eventually be killed. It was at that moment that Bishop turned the tables. Bishop got a good grip on Lazy Boy's right shoulder and shook him, knocking him off the ground. Everything Lazy Boy did to Bishop only made him angrier. When he released the shoulder, it looked like ground hamburger meat. He then went for the chest and held it in the center of the arena until he opened holes big enough to fit 2 or 3 fingers. He finally wanted to finish Lazy Boy off, took him to the corner and hit him in the throat. This ended up being his toughest fight. Death confirmed in 41 minutes. Bishop of the Steel City Kennel, winner of 1 fight. Champion Elwood versus Bishop. A few weeks later, we were contacted by some envious people from the same area of the city. They wanted to set up a fight between me and a champion near the big lake. They tried to convince me that they thought I could beat them and that the dog was only mediocre, but all the while they didn't mention that they had just been defeated by that dog a month before. Anyway, the event was scheduled and I trained Bishop harder than before because I knew he had to be perfect to beat the experienced champion Elwood. The weight was set at 24.7 kilograms. Elwood arrived at the exact weight, but due to anxiety about the first fight, I brought Bishop a little heavy. He arrived weighing 25.4 kilograms and I had to pay the fine. Elwood's owner said, "We still want to test our dog, we didn't come all this way for nothing." And those same guys, who were organizing the event, were all betting on champion Elwood. Once again I was the underdog and the envious ones wanted to see me lose. The dogs are released and champion Elwood, descended from the Turtlebuster/Eli lineage, came out fast. He brought all the sophisticated tricks and movements, and anyone who saw him would have thought he would win this show easily. The few who came with me managed to cancel all the bets they had made, due to Elwood starting so fast. This only irritated Bishop, and at the 20-minute mark, Bishop grabbed Elwood by the shoulder, took him to the corner, and nearly knocked Elwood out with a violent shake, slamming his head hard against the arena walls. He then went for the chest, got a good grip under Elwood's sternum, took him to the opposite corner, and began to press deep. Bishop looked like a Greek god shoving his whole head into Elwood's chest. Bishop lifted Elwood into the corner and pushed so hard that he threw him out of the box. The referee had to grab those two monsters and bring them back into the arena. Elwood's team was getting a little nervous at this point, and all those envious people were quiet now. And my friend, from whom I bought Bishop, told one of the guys on Elwood's team to go ahead and pull him out of the fight. He said, "I know you based your whole kennel on him, don't let him get killed." Elwood's team said, "Oh no, Elwood's been through this before, he'll weather the storm." Well, the storm didn't stop, and they certainly needed an ark. By the time they decided to retrieve it, champion Elwood was already gone. Dead at 41 minutes, again. Bishop of the Steel City Kennel, winner of 2 fights. Rocky, winner of 2 fights, versus Bishop. After his second victory, it was difficult to get a fight for him for a while, and we were starting to get a little frustrated. He was on his way to being big, and we called everywhere, from coast to coast, from north to south. We finally managed to arrange a fight 11 months later against a reputable kennel from the city of Frank Sinatra's music. So now it's set, 2-fight winner Rocky, from Gator Boys Kennel, against Bishop, from Steel City Kennel. Both dogs were seeking their championships and said it would be a historic fight. Messages were sent to me saying they would destroy me quickly and that there was no way our kennel could overcome the kennel that claims to be from fast bloodlines. We made the long trip to Joseph's neighborhood and were not well accommodated. Very poor hospitality, and we spent 7 hours looking for a hotel that would accept animals and never found one. Bishop stayed in the transport crate in the car for 2 days waiting for show time. Without class and without any sportsmanship. Showtime arrives and Rocky is half a kilo overweight, at 24.7 kilograms. Those kids were at home and boasting about how professional they were, but they were overweight like rookies. Anyone can win like that. Due to all the stress, Bishop arrived weighing 23 kilograms. My whole team said no. Take the forfeit penalty and leave. I contemplated it several times and, as before in his first fight, I knew what we had gone through in training. He was more than ready. So I made a decision and said, "Screw it, let's go." Rocky came out extremely fast and strong, pushing Bishop back in the first 5 minutes, but at 7 minutes into the fight Bishop grabbed Rocky by the shoulder and took him down shaking. Bishop knew he had to get rid of this brute killer quickly because of the weight advantage, and changed the grip from the shoulder to the chest at the 8-minute mark. He dug so deep into Rocky's chest that Rocky's assistant made the gesture of a hand cutting the throat, signaling that he was finished. Bishop made deep black blood gush from Rocky's chest, and the Gator boys were begging me to give them a chance to continue. Scratch, but I said no. I told them we came from the north to do a job, and if they wanted to save Rocky, they needed to touch the dog and acknowledge that they had lost. They refused to do that, so we said we would show them a real, legendary bulldog. Rocky was screaming and urinating while Bishop punished him in the throat. He was finished at 12 minutes, but Bishop finished his work at 28. Dead. Champion Bishop of the Steel City Kennel. At this point, the original breeder of Champion Bishop is contacting me to breed with Bishop. Remember, he was the product of an accidental crossbreeding and he really didn't like the crossbreeding at all. Too much red boy blood. Anyway, he now wants to arrange a mating with Champion Bishop back with his mother, Kay. He wants to do the mating, but only by paying a stud fee. I told him we could do the mating, but we would have to split the litter and the female would have to give birth to the puppies with me. I just didn't trust his honesty because of a past deal. However, I let it go. Needless to say, that mating never happened and Champion Bishop was still in the woods, no fighting. I contacted a guy I admired from afar for his dedication and hard work with the breed. I was very interested in acquiring some of his dog's blood to cross with mine. Well, he researched me and we both found out we were honest guys. Not thugs. I corresponded with Lopez from the Chosen Few Kennel for about a week, exchanging messages, and he told me we would make a deal. He brought me a puppy in exchange for one of mine. It was more about developing a relationship than anything else, and we did. He came to Moscow and stayed with me for a day and a half, and we discussed our goals and the direction we were both trying to go. He was very interested in Bishop and wanted to see his career take off. He suggested that I allow him to take Bishop back to the jungle with him to train him and present him at a convention in Taco City, Mexico. I laughed at first and said to myself, this son of a gun must be crazy. We had a nice breakfast the morning before I took him back to the airport, and there was something in the bond we developed. I saw the seriousness and determination in his eyes, and when I dropped him off at the airport, all I could think about was the opportunity for Bishop to accomplish something great. A few weeks passed, and TCF, the Chosen Few, and I continued to correspond, and the more I talked to him, the more excited and eager I became about the idea. To get to places you've never been, you have to do things you've never done. I told TCF I was ready. He was also excited and booked a flight back to Moscow in the dead of winter and picked up Bishop. Now, I knew this wasn't going to sit well with my team. Everyone thought I was crazy. Everyone said I'd never see him again and that this was the stupidest move a person could make. They said Bishop would be gone forever. Well, guess what? They were all wrong. Lopez trained Bishop in the jungle and put him through rigorous training, unlike anything he had ever seen. He made Bishop so strong, so powerful, ripped, full of well-defined muscles. It looked like Michelangelo himself had sculpted David's canine companion. So strong that people actually thought he was using steroids. This makes me laugh every time I hear it. Bishop was agitated the whole time while he was in the jungle and further destroyed his teeth fighting against the current. This was a big concern because he relies heavily on his bite. However, he seemed pretty damn good, and was on his way to Zapata's land. I flew to the country to meet them there and Bishop was very happy to see me, and vice versa. The landscape was breathtaking and freedom was all around me. It was one of the most beautiful settings I've ever been in. The hospitality was great, accommodating everything we needed and everyone there was very professional. The Chosen Few staff treated me like family and were always by my side. There were at least 200 people there from all over the world. Some very prominent breeders were present and this gave the atmosphere an electric feel. Several fights happened before us and I was on edge waiting for our time to shine. Our time came and we were ready. The air was so thin. I could barely breathe deeply. It was bad. We were almost 3,000 meters above sea level. However, Bishop was happy and seemed to be doing very well. Arturo, winner of 2 fights, versus Champion Bishop. The stage was set and the highly anticipated show between 2 great dogs was ready to begin. Arturo, a dog rated as an ACE, was a 2-fight winner, son of Little John, from CML Kennel, and La Koja. He was an exceptional dog at attacking the head and was supposedly the one tailor-made to stop Champion Bishop. This would be a great challenge for both Champion Bishop and Steel City, as we were in the Federal District and I didn't speak any Spanish, but TCF was in my corner. The dogs were released and Arturo went straight for the face. He worked his grip perfectly, preventing Bishop from getting what he wanted. That single grip made a 15-centimeter cut on the top of Bishop's head, as if it were a knife. It looked ugly. Arturo was dangerous, attacking from the face to the head and causing serious damage without allowing Bishop to touch him as he wanted. Bishop finally managed to corner Arturo and managed to touch him, but couldn't hurt him much due to him dodging the holds. This gave the crowd great confidence. Once again Arturo had another victim. Well, that's what they thought. Bishop never panicked and was pressing the whole time. Arturo couldn't keep running, and keeping that powerful force away from him was really taking its toll. Arturo controlled the fight for the first 25 minutes before Bishop got what he wanted, taking his opponent to the corner, determined to make him pay for everything he had received. Bishop attacked deep in the chest and made Arturo squeal. He was looking around and didn't want to be a part of it anymore. I asked them to turn Arturo over, to test his courage, because I knew he wasn't brave. His trainer managed to separate them quickly and Arturo hesitated to return to the fight. Bishop grabbed him and continued to punish him. When the TCF spoke to Bishop outside, Bishop jumped into a higher gear. He also yelled, "Go get that ball," and Bishop went into a rage, trying with all his might to finish Arturo right there in the box. Bishop slipped from his grip, shaking very hard, and Arturo tried to run. I grabbed Bishop and he shot out of the corner without hesitation, trying to get back to what he was doing, grabbed him and threw him back into the corner and went straight for the throat to finish him off. Arturo was screaming and urinating, and this made his team very upset. He was giving up, and his team knew it. He was looking for the wall to escape, and Bishop tried to grab him and bit the referee in the process, while Arturo ran trying to escape. Bishop missed the dog, biting the referee who got in the way. The crowd entered the arena claiming that this was a disqualification and took their dog out of the arena because their dog was trying to bite them. This disqualified them. They clearly didn't know the rules. Besides, they didn't have a real bulldog. The fight lasted 47 minutes, but was clearly decided at 32. Bishop is now declared International Champion Bishop of the Steel City Kennel, winner of 4 fights. I would like to thank everyone who believed in and supported us by following his spectacular career. It has been a long and difficult journey, respected worldwide. Champion Bishop clearly took the road less traveled and deserves all the praise he has been given, as he truly earned it. I would like to give a very special thank you to my friend Lopez, from the chosen few, for making this happen, believing in Bishop and doing that incredible training to take him to the next level. You are the definition of a true dog breeder. TCF note. I am very reserved when it comes to dealing with anything other than my own dogs, but this man was an educated breeder, a person of character, and Bishop was a really solid dog. I took into consideration that he was not one of the thousands of fake neighborhood titles in that country, but rather a dog that traveled to face the best dogs of his weight. Bishop was an eager worker and I was tough on him. A crazy chain fighter, otherwise I'd recommend he go further. My advice to the owner is to keep him away from the ferocious, expensive, fast and furious, type dog sellers in that country. Be selective and leave the billionaires sucking their thumbs. Be selective about who uses him, for breeding. I wish you good luck on your road. A good dog.